So Black Xmas or Black Christmas is the 2006 remake that came in right in between the original 1974 classic Black Christmas and the extremely split but mostly hated 2019 remake of Black Christmas that was released not too long ago. This is my first time watch of Black Xmas, the 2006 one, and I heard a lot of mixed reviews, but a lot of negative reviews on this one. A lot of people hate it for not being traditional and complimenting the classic one enough, being too early 2000s tropey, being too extreme on the gore, and not only the gore, the disgust and repulsive value of it, and the repulsive nature of it, which I'll get into because it's a pretty disgusting movie. But in my opinion, I think it complements the horror style and the horror-esque that it's going for anyway, so that's not really a negative for me whatsoever. But it is, it definitely merits its R rating for sure. And it does play around with a few things involving the original story, but it doesn't trash the original idea in my opinion. It just modernizes everything that the original was and brings it more to a 21st century kind of mood and vibe. And I had a good time with this film. I think it's a great, a well-made slasher. For a modern slasher, it's fantastic. I thought they pulled it off really nicely. They make it feel like a slasher. I think the kills and the blood splatters are really well done. The aesthetics are great. It feels like a slasher. It's got your slasher nods, not in the sense where they're nodding to the original Black Christmas, although they do. But I mean nods as a slasher, like what you expect to see in a slasher. You get the ditzy girls, the great kills, the creepy villains, the horrendous backstory of the main killer Billy. And there's just a lot of great stuff going on with this film. It's it's good to watch if like during the holidays if you like horror themed Christmas movies, and it also works throughout the year too, like any other time. It's one of those that you don't it's not only enjoyed at Christmas time. You can enjoy it pretty much throughout the year. Um, I like the opening with the guy dressed as Santa coming into the mental asylum. The one guy who's giving out the Christmas dinners and whatnot is he should be in that asylum himself because this guy is absolutely insane. I love his facial expressions when he's giving Billy the chicken. He's like, it tastes like chicken because it's chicken. It's the closest thing we could get to what tasted like mom or something like that. Because in the story, Billy was cannibalistic and ended up, snacking on his mother. Um, but just the way this guy says it, it's just cringeworthy like crazy. A lot of people make stupid decisions, including one of the security guards that works at the asylum, in how Billy ends up escaping. Just just horribly stupid decisions, like crazy, not even thought up of at all. And as for story, everything pretty much stays traditional to Black Christmas with the woman who owns this fraternity house, who's named Miss Mac. And Miss Mac, actually, the woman who plays Miss Mac, returns from the original film where she played one of the sorority sisters named Phyllis in 1974. In this one, she returns as the head of the house kind of thing. And like you said, you got these sorority sisters. They're way more bitchy, way more catty than they were in the original film. But that goes for your 2000s trope kind of thing. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead shows up in this film, which I think I had heard of before I watched it, but I had forgotten about completely. So I saw her and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot she was in here. That part stays the same. The phone calls, they're not. There's phone calls in this film, but they're not focused on as much as they were in the original film. The big difference in this film is the backstory of Billy is way more focused on. This is like a Rob Zombie's Halloween take on where he totally focused on the backstory of Michael Myers. This one totally focuses on the backstory of Billy, but also changes things up a bit. We get we get. I'm not gonna go heavy on spoilers in case anybody is watching this and wants to watch it. I mean, I am obviously gonna spoil some things, but I'm not gonna go heavy on them. We get an incestual plot theme in this involving Billy's mother. Billy does have a sibling in this one, so Billy's sibling plays a big part in the killings too. So we have two antagonists in this film instead of one, like in the original film. One thing about the original film, I forget if he had a liver disease, but in this one he definitely does have a liver disease, which makes his skin yellow, and this is very apparent. But I don't remember if they touched on that on the original one. I did watch it, I did review it last year, but I have to go revisit it again. Billy's parents and how they portray them are horrible. Billy's mom is an absolute psychotic person. They emphasize on the absolute tragic childhood, just like Rob Zombie did with Michael Myers. Not a lot of people are going to like that. Maybe that's a big reason why a lot of people didn't like this film. I found that the last 10 to 15 minutes completely dragged a little too much. They could have snipped a lot out of that ending or that last climatic scene because it just went way too long. And they brought in a lot of kills to it, but they just made them progress so slow and took their time way too much with it and just like dragged the tensity. I knew that what they were going for, but it didn't work for me because it would just they took too long with it and it started to get a little bit boring and repetitive. That's the only nitpick I would have with the whole film completely because like I said, I think this film works in so many levels. I love the climax scene where one of the girls or a couple of the girls are battling Billy and what's the girl's name? Let me look up here. Agnes. The sibling is named Agnes, and their final battle in between the house walls and like in between the wooden frames of the walls, and everything just being destroyed in that attic, and the way they're trying to get at each other with all intensity. Very, very good stuff. Very tense and great horror scene for sure. Now, there's one thing that I never understood about the original film and this one is how in the hell a killer could be in the attic in this sorority house living up there and never get noticed. That's a very far stretch for a horror film, especially when it's the main killer that is being focused on in the story and the plot is always hiding in not in plain sight but in such a small distance, and like no footsteps, no nobody hears that there's someone or something living in the attic, and like it always goes unnoticed for so long. That's the only thing that I found to be such a big stretch for this film and the original one, the whole Black Christmas story kind of thing. But that's it's something that can be looked past for the kind of horror film that this is. I liked one of the girls named Eve, and it's a shame that they didn't focus on Eve a whole lot because Eve is like the nerdy girl. She comes in, she kind of gives Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character a present, and you can tell that this girl is very socially awkward. But then they get rid of her real quick, so I didn't know how I felt about that. I wish that there was a little bit more focus put on this girl because this girl seemed like the most interesting girl out of everyone else. Everybody else is just a stereotypical bitch character who always like whines and cat talks each other. And then you have this girl Eve who actually seemed like she had some kind of depth to her, but they don't focus on her nearly as much as they should anyway. But yeah, I think I covered everything that I got written down here. They have some subplots going on too. Like there's a subplot with one of the girl's boyfriends secretly recorded them having sex, and then this guy just plays like he's developed to be a very conniving douchebag who is extremely selfish and stuff like that. They introduce small little subplots into the story like that, which can go either way. Like, yeah, they're kind of unnecessary, but yeah, they keep the plot up and interesting at the same time. I could have taken them or left them, kind of thing, is basically what I'm getting at. The main great thing that they do really well with this film is the slasher kills and how they how they how this film plays out as a slasher film. It does it in the classic way for a modern slasher, and better than a lot of modern slashers and modern remakes of slashers do it, for sure. So I had a great time with Black Xmas. I call it Black Xmas because that's how it's spelt and that's how I differentiate it from the original. And not gonna lie, I haven't seen the latest Black Christmas from 2019, but I've just heard so much horrible things, and I already know the plot, and it just seems like a film I don't need to watch because it's really not my cup of tea. Maybe I'll watch it at some point. I'm not saying I never will, but I'm just really not interested. I've heard everything I need to hear about it, so that's where that stands. But Black Xmas 2006, definitely a thumbs up for me, and something that I would watch again, and I certainly would buy. So that's my thoughts on Black Christmas 2006. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more. Check out the ones on the channel. This is December, so we're getting lots of Christmas reviews. And stay tuned if you like. So, till next time, have a good one. Cheers.